Good evening. This is HNN, the Holotable News Network. Is your not even remotely close to around-the-clock Star Wars galaxy of heroes, news, reviews, reactions, theory crafting, and more source. I am Celia Xera, one of your hosts, and I am joined by my co-host, Pico Burrito. Pico, how are you?
I'm doing great. For all the folks that are joining on YouTube, there is no earthquake where I'm at. I just have a wobbly table in this weird hotel. So I'll try not to make you all dizzy and sick. But how you doing, Sarah?
I'm good. I feel like all of my co-hosts travel for work, and I just don't.
COVID's not a thing anymore. I mean, so we get to go back and do this again, I guess.
Yeah.
So
We get to travel, and I'm just gonna hang out here. I don't get to travel for work. I just go into the office, but it's fine.
yeah,
Okay.
exotic locales like Grand Rapids, Michigan, and Bowling Green. You're really not missing much. So
Fair enough. Okay, so
yeah,
you're obviously traveling for work. I'm just gonna put a disclaimer out
yep.
there as well. My internet has been absolute trash the last 24 hours. If you're Canadian, Rogers sucks. So if all of a sudden I just disappear and the stream dies, my internet probably crashed, guys, again.
Yep.
So just fair warning. I'm really sorry. I hope it doesn't. They tell me it's fixed. I don't believe them. So yeah, we've got that. And then we have actual Star Wars news.
Absolutely. Good stuff tonight. So
Yeah. I don't even know where we want to start. So Conquest is live. We've got a new ship as the reward that we can go over. Set 5
yep.
datacrons are here. Their new web store is live. I don't even know. Where do we want to go?
So, well, we had dusting too, and I think there were a lot of
Yeah.
people surprised this morning with. Turns out there's a cap in the credits when it comes to datacrons, and I think a lot of people were a little surprised by that. So, uh, do we want to talk Conquest, or we want to save that maybe to the meat? Because let's be honest, that's the exciting stuff that we really want to talk about today.
That is the exciting stuff. So maybe we just start on set 5.
Awesome.
All right, cool. Let's look at that. So I have the forum post pulled up, which may or may not be accurate. It is most definitely not accurate because you can tell right away. I'm just gonna scroll up a bit so people can actually see it if they're on YouTube. They have an Embo datacron for level 9, and he's not even listed in their like little. Hey, here are the characters getting a
Yeah.
datacron at the top. So, because I remember somebody was talking about Embo, and I'm like, what are you guys talking about? He's not listed. Because I hadn't opened all of the spoilers. I'm like, he doesn't have a datacron, guys.
Yeah.
Like, what are you going on about? He does. So,
Well,
yeah.
I think, I mean, first off, I keep saying this, like, I think the datacrons are fair. Like, I like this set just because nothing I looked at immediately made me think, oh, I'm sick to my stomach, and how am I going to handle this?
Yeah.
Even with we have the return of health steal, but it's not as insane as it was. I think the biggest surprise for me were the high number of rank 9 datacrons available or for different characters.
Yeah.
And they all seem to have one option. So it's like if you're chasing Embo,
Mm-hmm.
which I don't know why you are. I don't even know what he does, but I don't know why you are. But if you're chasing Embo, if you get it, you get the one you want. It's not like, oh, I got the bad Embo. It's outside of, I think, the 2 GLs. Everyone else is just a single datacron, maybe Hux as well. So I like that. We'll see how it works out in practice, but I thought that was a good change. So
Yeah, I actually noticed that too. Which I thought was interesting. I don't think I'm mad about it. I think it'll be interesting because chances are if you're chasing a specific level 9, it's not necessarily the character, it's the ability
yeah,
that you want. So having like 3 chrysanthemum options, you want 1 chrysanthemum option. So you might as well just get rid of the other 2 because we're going to re-roll for it.
Yep.
So that is super interesting. Worth mentioning though, it's all dark side this set again.
Yep.
Bounty hunters and First Order. How do you feel about bounty hunters having a datacron while the smuggler one is active?
Um, it's it's a great question because we're starting to see a little bit of mix and match between the smugglers and scoundrels and bounty hunters and kind of how some of those kits work out. And all of a sudden, I think it creates an interesting scenario of I have two datacrons for this team and I can only assign one. And I hadn't thought about it from that standpoint. Um, I I'm looking at it from the bounty hunters in the context of I have Jabba and I want Jabba. Most of those datacrons are going to go on a Jabba team, and I already have the Lando one. So it's now so one, what do you do with all of the extra ones? I think the other piece though that I'm trying to wrap my head around is we do have this thing called 3v3 where those teams start to get carved up, and maybe that provides some flexibility on the other side of it as well. So I don't know. I have a hard time getting excited about a Cad Bane or and Embo is a great character on the Java team, but I just have a hard time getting excited about a Datacron on that side.
Yeah.
I think the volume of First Order is probably a little bit more interesting, because I think there's some flexibility. So
yeah, I agree. I was a little bit surprised because I kind of assumed Jabba would get one, but then I was like, oh, but if he gets one, we have smugglers right now. That seems so closely tied. And I guess CG doesn't care. So.
Well, and I guess I am surprised they went back to back dark side, because, we're only going to say nice things about set 4 tonight. On the set 4 side, the Empire cooldowns, I think what we found is there are so many ways to add Empire teams to various team comps that a lot of the dark side teams are already covered with datacrons.
Yeah.
So where's my place to insert some of those in some of the in some of those cases? Because reality, we're probably building 2 bounty hunter teams, maybe 3, depending on kind of where you're at and what you're doing. Like, are you running an aura lead, Zam squad, because of how things are. First Order, I'm probably building 2.
Right.
And what do I do with everything else? And my brain doesn't work in the way of having a Chrysanthemum, level 9, and then assign that to a light side team for the stats. Like, my head doesn't function that way. So, that's the difference between me and PvP and the really good players in PvP, is that they can look at it from that standpoint. So.
Well, and it's funny that you mentioned that, because everyone's like, oh, Health Steal's back. Like, that'll be great for Rey. I'm like, but they're all dark side. Like, I don't make that connection. I'm like, but they're all dark side. And then I'm like, oh yeah, you can do that. So.
Yeah. No, what I really hope, and I don't, what I found interesting, especially over, again, we're saying nice things about set 4. If we look at, we got through the set 4 cycle, so month 1 and month 2. And I think set 4 became super interesting in month 2 when people started figuring out the other ways to use that, like how awesome the dash team was, how awesome kind of building some of these, like some of the Darth Vader cheese things. And yes, there was this view of like Lord Vader is going to be awesome and all these other things, but with all of these other level 9 datacrons, like I'm hoping the way this works out is less of a letdown if you don't get that one that you wanted, that there's going to be something else in there that's going to let you do some really cool, awesome stuff. It's the oh, I got TIE Fighter pilot again, and it wasn't what I wanted. I'm hoping that some of those other kits are going to provide people some cool things that they can do and some fun things that they can do with those characters. So
right. Well, it's actually funny that you mentioned TIE Fighter pilot, because I got that one as my first level 9 from set 4, and I was like, I don't know what to do with you. I don't have a Relic 7 TIE Fighter pilot. Contemplated doing it, and then I was like, no, that's stupid, Sarah. Don't make this decision based off of Datacron. But I use that Datacron on a totally different team because of the other bonuses.
Yeah.
It's still on, like, I use it on my on my Starkiller team because it has the level 6 cooldown one. So I'm like, well,
Yep. Yeah.
that's what I want here. So
Yeah.
it's just an interesting thing to keep in mind. So the other thing too, which is kind of interesting, and people are mentioning this in chat too, is light side bounty hunters don't get an advantage here. But we have the smuggler one activated, and I can't remember if they have. I need to look this up now. I can't remember if the light side bounty hunters, if Grief and Mando have the smuggler tag as well, or if it's just scoundrel.
They are just scoundrels.
So they wouldn't take advantage from.
Correct. Correct.
Sad.
But again, they're going to get all the stats, and so there's what, 3 light side bounty hunters. So it's Grief, Mando, and Boosh.
Right.
Are the 3.
I forget about Boosh.
And let's real talk about Grief and Mando. Grief is there to cleanse, and that's it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or to call an assist. And Mando is there to execute. And they really don't do anything else. Like it's look, Brando is an awesome character, and he's a great character in the game, but he is there to get the shot off once and then maybe get the shot off one more time at the end of it. And I can't tell you anything else that his kit does, because he just, the two of them kind of fill that very specific get a character off the board role. It'll be interesting to see what happens with Boosh and Jabba, but one of the interesting pieces are so there's a 30% turn meter increase Jabba Cron, which I think is the one that everyone's going to want, which is going to allow Jabba to get detonators out faster. And what Boosh does is essentially takes a lot of turns because she's fast, gets a lot more detonators out of them, things go boom and everything goes away. She's going to get the payoff from the turn meter piece just because Jabba's going to be able to turn over turns more quickly and get detonators out, which then again kind of piles on from that side. But I'll take it. I like the bounty hunter faction, and hopefully we can do some cool stuff with it. So
I'm a little bit sad because I am one of the few who shamefully still has my Zam at gear 12. So I'm like, oh, you don't get a datacron.
yeah. Well, and there's a lot of moving targets with characters right now, so it's hard to kind of take that step to push it over in the other direction. So
yeah. Okay, so I'm just opening the spoilers on the forums, just so we can see. So obviously it's all dark side, like we said.
Yep.
There's not a ton, like there are a few that are pretty good, but I particularly like the whenever allies use a special ability, they gain 15% turn meter. Like that sounds fantastic.
Yep. So I got that on the first datacron that I rolled.
Nice.
And then it hit then on the next one it hit so that's level 3, then then it hit first order. And I'm like, oh, I'm going in the right direction. I'm gonna get slicker, and it's gonna be gravy. And then I hit first order stormtrooper on the last one, and it's like wah wah, and it just kind of fell apart real quick for me. So but can't have everything. I actually did have enough credits to give him a roll, and I can't remember where it landed, but I'll chase something else at this point. So
I don't remember what my first one was that I rolled. It wasn't the 15% turn meter. I know that. I think it might be the 2% health recovery when they are critically hit. I can't remember.
Okay.
But then I rolled 2 more after we had all the dusting today. So I rolled 2 others to level 3, and both of those hit the 15% turn meter. And I was like, okay.
Nice.
Okay, maybe we are on to a good start.
Yeah.
Maybe. So who knows? Okay, and then obviously we've got the factions, so First Order and Bounty Hunter. I will say, by the way, I really like the fact that they are simplifying the fact that even though it's 2 factions, they have the same bonuses, just on different factions.
Yeah.
Like, I think that is really helpful.
Yeah, and look, I think it's worth mentioning, and I know there's probably some debate whether it's the case, but so I'm going to use a sports analogy for a minute. That there was, yes, I know it's they're overused in these cases, but
It's okay.
in American football, there's an idea that some coaches will script out the first 20 plays of the game. All right, so I'm just going to do these. I'm going to run these in order. And the idea there is I'm going to figure out what works and what doesn't, and I go off in a different direction. And then there's a mentality of I'm going to do whatever makes sense. I would like to believe that what CG did, at least through the first 3 releases and probably into the 4th, is they scripted out for the year what they thought that these datacrons were going to be to get a sense of what works and what doesn't. And now we're starting to see the tuning. Like we saw the return of Health Steal, but they pulled the numbers back. I think we'll probably continue to see some of this. And I think like what you're saying, what you call out about the simplifying the datacrons of sharing it across the factions, I think that's some of the side effects that we're seeing is that how do we cut back on the noise? Because just imagine if First Order had, 4 faction options, Bounty Hunters had 4 faction options, and there's like 7 or 8 characters there. That matrix of connecting all that gets really, really confusing. So I think it just makes it a lot easier to get to here are my stats, here are my abilities, and then really it's kind of drive to the 9s where it makes sense from that side. So I want to believe that's what they did, and I want to believe they're taking feedback in this case, and we're starting to see the benefit of it from that side.
I actually think that's a really good point because these were put out after the beta testers, whatever group got canned. And I think that group would have been giving them more feedback. And now that obviously doesn't exist. So they have to take their feedback when it's live, which is unfortunate at times. But that's a really good point because that would be something that group would have done because they would have known which Datacron sets were coming ahead of time, most likely, and provided some additional feedback for that. So, yeah, I agree with you.
And I think if you don't script it out over a period of time, what happens is, the first set comes out, and then if you immediately start trying to adjust after that first set, then you never kind of get a good baseline data set. And yes, the first 3 sets will have caused us pain. Like I think 25% turn meter was a bad idea, but I think you have to put it out there to understand, let's just set a value and do we need more or less out of that? And I think what we'll see is kind of those numbers adjust back and forth. I think, again, we're saying nice things about 4, but I think that CG probably thought that the way that set 4 was going to work is we're going to put dodge and we'll put accuracy in place and our players will find homeostasis between the two. I don't think what they expected was such a swing in the other direction of dodge to the point that no one invested in the accuracy. And I think that we'll see a pullback on that in some way, shape, or form. But what will be interesting is what we see over the next couple of sets. The problem is in the 2-month cycle that we're in right now, it's going to take us way too long to kind of see that trend. Right now, single data point does not equal a trend. And really, we kind of need 2 more data points to really get an understanding of what that looks like. So,
well, yeah, and that's a good point too because they changed the cadence, so your trend line is now going to change as well. Like, everything just kind of shifts, so it's just getting used to everything all over again, essentially. But hopefully, they're taking feedback into account and learning, maybe. So obviously we've got First Order ones, we've got Bounty Hunter ones. Somebody did ask Meathead, by the way, why some of these were colored. Like some are blue and some are not. Or they asked if there was a reason. It was actually Mole Pokey. He asked why, if there was a reason, and Meathead said yes. And then he said, can you tell us? And he said no. So take that for what it's worth. 2 of the First Order ones are blue. So whenever First Order allies stun an enemy, they gain speed up and offense up for 2 turns and inflict expose for 2 turns at the end of that turn. And whenever a debuff on an enemy expires, allies gain 2% offense doubled if the debuff was dispelled until the end of the battle. So those 2 are blue, and then the Bounty Hunter one is just the stunning gaining speed up one, the same one of the
Yeah.
First Order. That's blue as well. So I don't know. I don't know if that's highlighting like the rare quote unquote ones.
So speaking from experience this week, as I've been working off a laptop screen that I have not had to use outside of a 27-inch monitor in years, my guess would be that the colors have more to do with someone couldn't find the correct color in the color picker list because they were too small, and that's why it's there. But anything past that, I don't think it
hints
matters.
at anything. Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's strange because even the level 9 ones have it. It's just weird. It's just weird all around. Weird formatting.
And again, there's coding placeholder characters because we just pulled this directly out of a database and
yeah, exactly. The lovely squiggly bracket 0.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, overall, I think this is going to be an okay set.
So the one that I'm excited for the most is giving Slicker Retribution. And I only say it because when he hits, they did a great job with the animation that when he hits, it actually feels forceful.
Yeah.
And now it feels like giving him Retribution is like, I'm going to hit you hard with great malice behind it. Like it's going to feel like it's hitting just harder from that standpoint. I also I think there's a place for Hux and Slicker as well, because I think you're going to start to see maybe those teams, especially I keep going back, like 3v3 is a thing. Just because we don't like it doesn't mean that they aren't doing things. And, one of the things I like about the 2-month model is we are going to get, it's a 4-month cycle. We are going to get these in 2 3v3s as well as 5v5. So we're probably going to start getting to the point that maybe we're starting to have some datacrons for every other month, maybe not just every month, where some of these things break apart and come back together. So I think one of the Hux ones looks really good. We'll see. I will probably be panicking in 10 days that I don't have enough datacrons, and then at the end of the second cycle, I'm like, oh, I have too many of them. So we'll kind of see where that shakes out. So
yeah. And this is like kind of the funny thing now, because this is the second time where we're going to be having 2 months of farming the datacrons from Conquest. And it's just a funny it's interesting to me when you see like everyone not necessarily panic this month, but everyone's trying to scramble to get as many datacrons as possible. But we still have a whole other month to get the ones that we want to, which is just always interesting. I don't know.
Yeah.
It does feel a little bit like, I don't want to say less useful to get the datacron later on, but I mean it is like that. I'll use that. Darth Vader revive one was really strong. It is really strong. Obviously, it's still active. But if you got that in your first week, you had the full 4 months essentially. And if you got it in week 8, or I guess week 6, like whenever Conquest was ending, then it kind of eats into some of your playtime.
Well, I think there's that piece of it. And I think the other is, I think the community has consistently been wrong on what the good datacrons are in every set. I think there's a belief that X is going to be good, and it turns out Y is good. And I'll give an example, like hot take. I thought the Malgus datacron was trash.
Right.
There was this belief coming out of it that he was going to be this insanely difficult character to beat, and the datacron was going to make it that much harder. And I think everyone else basically just figured out a real easy way to two-shot him. So, but what we found out of that is things like the damage immunity Bamcron was huge because it allowed you to do a lot of things you couldn't in other places. Or the Mother Talzin, like some of the Night Sister datacrons that were there were really, really good from that side. And again, the Vader ones were great in the last set, but I think we started to see some other ones that kind of came out of it that solved a lot of problems. So month 2 is going to be really exciting when people kind of get stuck with what they think is garbage. Then it turns out like, I don't know, this is awesome. Like this works really well. So that it's month 2 is going to be exciting. I think it's going to be exciting kind of figuring out where some of those things sit. So
It's funny too because I feel like we're always like everyone in the community is always tweaking things and finding new ways to use stuff that you're always going to have something be useful. Like that BAM datacron, for example. I remember like I was like, oh, I want the Whistling Birds one. I want the one where he can't get killed while he's in the stance because that's what I use him for. And then I afterwards were like, no, we need him to constantly be throwing out damage immunity. And I'm like, I can't get this. I can't get this one. So I will say the one that I have heard a lot about is actually Phasma, not Slicker, which Savitar just mentioned in chat. Which I know like even our Territory War guys have been like, hey, if you can get this one, this would be great for Territory War. I didn't even read it, but so at the it's this one at the start of each of Phasma's turns, they reset their cooldowns and lose 5% health for each turn. Each ability was reduced, and she can't be defeated that way. So she's basically just going to constantly have her abilities ready to go.
So that's almost the BAM damage immunity, but it's just it's the opposite where BAM was. No, BAM would reset the cool. That's what it was. BAM would still reset the cooldowns, but that would allow him to get into damage immunity more frequently from that side. So it's still kind of the same thing. It's going to be fun. I think it's but at the same time, dropping characters down 5%, 5%. Eventually, you get to take a turn, and is that just a real simple AE, and all of a sudden the entire team falls over? So it looks awesome, but is there a poison pill built into it that we really don't see from some of that side? Now, does that open up things like First Order TIE Pilot becoming a really awesome option in that case? Because again, he can hit like a truck with that Omni and GAC. I don't know, but I think everyone's going to chase that one. And again, it's if you get Phasma, you win. You don't have to worry about, did I get the wrong Phasma? I got the only Phasma that's out there from that side. So
right, yeah, that's a huge change. I like that. I mean, like you said, the only ones that have 2 according to this list are Jabba and Kylo. So
Jabba and Kylo, and then Hux has 2 as well, because he's got one that if he gets something about, it was in the dominance piece, which I need to go back and take a look at what dominance does, because I just don't think about it.
I can't remember what it does either. Something about
240 characters in the game now. I can't remember that anymore.
Because this one, it's if Kylo's in the leader slot. So this is kind of an interesting one too, because if you have a Kylo Cron and you have this Hux Cron, which one do you use? So
I think in that case, for the Kylo lead for Hux, I think you probably just pick one and go with it. Like is that a case of
right?
Did you plan it correctly, and can you maybe roll it into something else at that point?
Right.
And again, the good news is, well, I guess in the case of Hux, it's not, because you still have the option of getting the other choice. But the frustrating piece I always found with rolling the 9s are, I'm looking for character X, and I got my character's second and third abilities. So all I did was just kind of, I didn't have a choice to do something different. You're going to get a choice to do, in most of these cases, you're going to get a choice for 2 other characters whenever you do to
Right.
re-roll it at level 9 from that side. So you're gonna have more choice, I think. There, again, whether they're good choices or not, that's a different story. But character choice is kind of play into it a little bit more. So
Right. Sabotage saving us in chat. Dominance is that you can't be counterattacked.
got it. Okay.
So at the start of each encounter, which also is just funny that they say encounter, by the way, because Territory War and Grand Arena are only one encounter.
Yeah. Yeah.
And at the start of each of his turns, if he doesn't have dominance, he gains it. So, yeah.
So, Sarah, then it's time to look. I think we need to maybe put the idea out in the world. Grand Arena is going to best of 3 matches in each fight. So that's why we have the counter piece. So now it's you fight once with Hux, and then we actually just roll into the next one. So that's where they're going to get the multiple encounters. So we're now 45 fights per Grand Arena Championship. We're just putting it out there. So
no, I don't want waves of Grand Arena battles. I think I might cry.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think this will be interesting. I think it's good. I think it's good that Kylo got one because he was the only GL so far, other than Jabba, obviously.
Yeah.
Who didn't have one. So I think that's fair. But yeah.
And dusting again. I guess it's late for a public service announcement, but I think we're going to see this that I got 20 million data cash back, and I was at 12 or 13.
Oh, so you capped.
So I lost 2 million as part of it. And my problem was I knew this was going to happen. I ran out of roll mats to actually.
Oh,
so I couldn't spend it. I spent everything that I had, and I wasn't hitting the treasure nodes fast enough. So this, I think, is going to be. I wonder if we're not going to find ourselves in a situation they're going to have to bump up the cap a little bit, because I wonder if we're not really close to scenarios where people are when they snap. I don't want to say dust. So when they snap out the datacrons, that they would be getting 33 million. 30, like right. How long until all of a sudden what we're getting is gonna exceed that cap, which that's gonna really frustrate people when it's clearly throwing away resources.
Yeah, because and that's the thing, because I know I've mentioned like eventually these will compound, like as they dismantle.
Yeah. Yep.
All the mats will end up compounding, and you'll be able to take your datacrons up. They've been tweaking with the economy, so obviously it's not finalized yet, but I didn't even take into account that not like your mats and stuff are going to compound, but also your cash is going to compound. So yeah, it's going to be real easy to hit that cap.
And again, Savitar actually made a great point about that cash went up on this and the mats went down. And I think the biggest thing that the community is going to, I think the community probably does as well, is I want predictability.
Right, I agree.
And it feels right now that it's not very predictable where set 3, no one had cash available. I didn't hear that as much the last time around. I'm having a mat problem all of a sudden. And again, it's early in Conquest, but I am running into the mat challenge.
Me too.
I want predictable behavior, so I'm not having to reinvent the wheel every time that I go into this, so that I can make a plan and I can execute on the plan moving forward.
Yeah. So I'm already running into the map problem as well, which is, we're 3 days of Conquest, not even a full 3 days, like 2.5. And
so it's probably time to set it all on fire and just actually start pitchforking the forums.
Right.
That it's broken at this point, right?
Right. So, okay. Any other points that we want to make about set 5? I can't think of anything crazy. Do we want to talk about the web store before we get into like the meat of the episode?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so the web store has launched, which if you guys don't know what this is, it's CG's way of getting around sharing money with Apple and Google. But Basically,
it's certainly not for a better user experience.
oh man, the user experience is rough. But basically, you can log in. You have to. It's not in the game. I will preface this. There's no button in the game. This is why they can do it, because you're not allowed to advertise it in the game. You have to go to a web store in your browser, put your email in, get a code out of your email that they email you every single time, and then log in. It does break your connection to the game, so don't do it on your computer while you're doing a battle, because it breaks it. But you get a free pack every day, which this month, even if you've been like on the fence about whether or not you're going to do it, every day for the month of November, you get 100 free energy, plus some shards, plus whatever currency and stuff that is extra in the pack. But like just for the 100 free energy, and it can be regular, ship, Cantina, and I think mod. But you get 100 free energy. It's I was like, this is huge. Like for if you're working on a Galactic Legend, if you're working like whatever you're working on, it's great. I will say I wish there was more incentive other than that to go to the web store, because right now there isn't.
So I have theories.
Okay. Hit me.
And my theory is right now they're more focused on building muscle memory to go to the store than they are with providing value. So it's one of these, like, I think they're probably trying to build critical mass to go in that direction. And then we'll start to see the deals. We have seen a couple of web store exclusives. They haven't been great by any means whatsoever. I know that they're starting to do the crystal bump. Again, we can argue whether that's a lot or not. I mean, it's for background for folks that aren't aware of kind of what this model is. Both Apple and Google take a 30% cut of everything that's sold in their app stores. So if you buy a $10 pack, CG gets 7%, Apple and Google get 30%. About 18 months ago, Epic, who owns Fortnite, decided that they were going to open a web store and they were going to drive their customers to their web store by cutting prices 10% across the board. So it was a 10% reduction in everything. And then how that worked is essentially they passed 10% on to the end user, and then Epic made 20%. And the end result was, Fortnite was kicked off of the Apple store, and there's some other pieces, and there's other piece of it. I was surprised that CG went the path of increasing the crystals as opposed to dropping the price.
Right.
Because look, if I let you save 5% or I give you 5% more, I view that 5% as 5% is worth it. But I think the community right now is more receptive to me paying less.
Absolutely.
And getting the same thing than paying the same and getting more. But I think December maybe is when we'll start to maybe see a bump into where some of those pieces are to really start providing maybe some of the value. The reality is they probably need like one good super pack where everyone's like, absolutely, you have to do this. And I think that problem's fixed, but we'll see where it shakes out. So
yeah. And like it's new, so obviously they're going to change things. I was kind of laughing earlier this week because Molpokey had pointed out that one of the packs, it was the 6-dot mod pack in game, was actually cheaper than what it was on the web store for Canadians. It was like a $2. It's $2. It's like $2 is $2. I'm like, it's $2 difference. And I actually took screenshots and I posted it in the events server and tagged Meathead because he was in there chatting one day. And I was like, hey, like, I don't know if you guys know this, but the web store is actually charging more money for this pack than what it is in game. And I showed them. And he's like, okay, thanks for flagging, whatever. And then he's like, are you sure you're in the right, like, geolocation on both ones? And I'm like, yeah, definitely. Fair question. But, like, you can see the other packs in the screenshot are the same price. And it's just that one pack that's off for whatever reason. But, like, that's not an incentive for me now, like, while I'm there.
Yeah.
Like, it's just little things like that where... And I'm sure they're all looking at it, and they're all looking at it from California and in USD, so they're not going to notice these weird glitches. But I was like, this can't even be a case of the exchange rate being weird, because at least with the Google Play Store, a $10 pack, no matter what the exchange rate is for me, a $9.99 pack in game is always $13.99 for me. Like, that's always what it's going to be, no matter what. And I was like, maybe this is an exchange rate thing. I was like, oh no, it's not, because then all of the packs would be off. Like, so it's these little things that I think they're just gonna have to figure out how to fine tune as well to just make it a little bit better. I think it would be great. What would drive it there, and I hate to even say this because I don't think this is the only thing they should do. I'm going to preface this. This is not the only thing they should do for catch-up mechanics, but if you had web store exclusive packs for newer players that were designed to help you catch up quicker, I think that would be an incentive. And I'm not saying that's the only way that they should do it. I think obviously you need some of that stuff in game too, but yeah, we'll see.
So I think 2 episodes back, a friend of mine that I've played games with for 20 years, I dropped him. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go podcast about the Star Wars game that you heard me talk about, never played, but he listened to the show and he actually started playing over the past month. And he doesn't pay attention to anything on the forums. He likes to push buttons, and it's something to kill time with. But I sent him the information on the web store, and I'm like, look, it breaks your connection and it's kind of a pain to have to go this every day. And he's like, and his response was like, dude, this is like 1/6 of my energy that I get to spend on a daily basis. He's like, this is great. Like for someone that 3 extra shards is a huge deal. I mean, it's great from that standpoint. Again, this is where the beta program is missed, because probably they catch it's not a great usage model that I have to go into 3 apps to access the content in the web store.
Right.
That's not clean.
No.
So it'll get better. It's if they need a multi-factor authentication piece, look, I know a company that can help. CG, call me. I know some folks with a package. We'll hook you up. We'll make it work from that side. So
yeah, it's and I know like it's definitely like you need some kind of multi-factor authentication or something like that. But it's kind of, I don't want to say it's annoying. It's tedious to do it. I will say like the whole process takes less than a minute. But it is. You're absolutely right. You've got to, and I'm still really paranoid about it actually showing up in my game properly. So like I go into the game, I see how much energy I have, and then I go into the web store and I connect and I pull my little, top down menu email thing open to get the code. At least I will say this for CG, at least they include it in the subject line. I don't actually have to open that email. It just pops up in my little notification and type it in, and then I go back and make sure my energy's actually gone up. But yeah. Anyway, so that's their store. It's new. I don't know. I know people are on the fence about using it, but the 100 energy for every day in November I think is huge, and I would definitely do that, especially if you're one of those people who doesn't do necessarily all of their refreshes during Conquest because they're reallocating their crystal resources to Conquest refreshes now. If you get that 100 free energy and say it's regular energy, that's almost a full refresh that you don't have to spend on regular energy, right? So just something to keep in mind. But
zero reason for missing tickets now. Zero reason for missing tickets.
You can literally get 600 tickets for free now.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Okay, so I think that was all I wanted to say about the store. Other than that, it's live. So, do we want to talk about the ship and Conquest finally?
Yes, but before we talk about the ship,
oh no,
Do we have to come to an agreement on how to say the name of the ship?
I've been told I say it wrong.
How do you say it?
I say it incorrectly, and I said Scythe the first time I said it.
Okay. Okay. So I did not realize there was a third option in this conversation.
Oh,
So
oh no, what's the third option?
so is it a scythe or a scythe are the two
Oh,
appropriate names for that. I think it is a scythe,
okay. I was told it was
but
Scythe.
scythe is yes. Zareth, I believe, said scythe the other day, and while I understand, like to me, that's an old English pronunciation of that, but I it was a valid piece there. But I think, look, we're going to speak for the entire community right now. The community has decided that it's the scythe, and that's what we're going to call it. And anyone who doesn't, we're now going to mock. So this has been proclaimed, feed it out through all the channels. This is the answer. This is what we're calling it moving forward.
Okay, so Lines Down in chat is saying it's Scythe. Did I say that right? Scythe.
Yes. I that is a valid phrasing of it, but scythe is
Scythe.
what I believe it is.
Man.
Yes, there is a thighs to it, but I believe that it's scythe.
I'm just gonna call it the ship. the Grand Inquisitor's ship. Oh man.
Inquisitor's whip. That's what we're gonna call it. The Inquisitor's whip.
Yeah. It's okay, so actually before we even get into this too much, the other thing that we should mention is Grand Inquisitor is coming back in December.
Yes.
Me had put a post out, didn't say when in December, just that it's December, which I think is very strange. I think they could have made money having it right before Conquest and then right before territory battles. So
yeah, how much money did they make people panicking because they projected the date to be in September and then October?
Right.
And it's one of those
right.
that as each week would go along and someone would get closer and closer, did they start doing the panic? Like, I didn't think I was going to get there. Now that I could, well, maybe if I just juice it a little bit, I get a little bit over the top.
Well, it's also like, I feel like if you had started it on Thursday, like this last Thursday, before Conquest, people would see the data mine feats that Grand Inquisitor would have a feat that he needs to survive. And if you're close, you might just be like, okay, I'm just going to buy a couple of packs and get it.
Yeah.
Because it will make my life easier. And now you don't. I don't know. It just seems like a weird decision. So it's sometime in December. I personally have my money on after December 12th. Because that's when Conquest ends.
Okay. Oh.
So I don't think that... I think it would be very nice of them to make it happen during Conquest. Conquest is going to start... So obviously we're in Conquest right now. The next Conquest will start November 28th. Because it's every 4 weeks now, right? Not the first Monday.
Yeah.
So it's every 4 weeks. So it's going to start November 28th. So we will already be in it, theoretically, before... the Grand Inquisitor event can even come back. So, and it'll end on December 12th. So my money is it's going to be the week of December 12th that it shows up.
I can see that. I question the decision only because it seems to be the consensus in the community is CG, we get it. Mm-hmm. We're ready to do this. Like you all right. You broke us. We're all going to go with the Grand Inquisitor, and now you won't put him in the game. Like
right.
That's the like.
I'm like, I have it,
guys. Like,
I have it here. Give me my toy. So, yeah. I mean, I don't know. It also December 12th would line up. That's the week that we are supposed to have Dark Side territory battles. Which is when people are projecting the new territory battle would start, theoretically, if it were to happen.
I hope so.
If it
I hope
happens that
so.
week, and if there is a battle that requires Grand Inquisitor, then you have it happen that week, and then
Yeah.
I don't know. Just projecting all of my thoughts into the
Yeah.
universe before we look at his ship.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's look at this because that's enough. That's enough projection. Okay, so this is obviously the ship that we're earning right now in Conquest. And I have heard that this is a 7-star unlock, not a 5-star unlock,
Yes.
unlike other ships that we get in Conquest.
Correct.
So, yeah, okay. Let's have a look at this. So it's obviously Dark Side, Support, Empire, Inquisitorious, Unaligned Force User, which is funny for a ship because you don't use the Force as a ship, but okay.
Watch Red 5 be tagged as not as a Jedi, but an actual Jedi. Like when it gets there, like we're not just going to start putting like tags on ships. So
Oh man, it's just silly. Okay, so two pilots, Grand Inquisitor and Fifth Brother.
yep.
Which I mean, the good news is if you have Grand Inquisitor, your Fifth Brother is at least Relic 5.
Yep.
So that's fine. Okay. I'm gonna skip all of these lovely notes. His meme of why not 2 TIE fighters, which I did laugh at. Okay.
Yeah.
So the basic ability, GA60S laser cannon. What a name! Not that anyone is going to use that. They're just going to say basic.
The basic.
The basic. Deal physical damage to target enemy and inflict defense down for 2 turns, then gain 20% turn meter. If the target is a Jedi, this attack can't be evaded. When scoring a critical hit, grant a random Imperial TIE fighter foresight for 2 turns that doesn't already have it.
Screw you, Anakin. That's what that ability kind of feels like.
Yeah. Anakin.
Screw you, Anakin.
Ahsoka.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to think of all the Jedis who are pilots. Plo.
So, and look, we should probably acknowledge here. I am being you in this case. I have not seen this kit whatsoever outside. I know that there's 2 TIE fighters. Like I didn't read it, so I'm kind of getting this right here. But one, so I've got a basic that gives me turn meter up, and a basic that's going to spread foresight on all of those TIE fighters.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yes. Oh,
that's awesome.
You're gonna like this even more when we get into TIE fighters. You just wait.
Okay.
Okay, so special 1, intimidating flyover. Side note, I really like that you haven't read this kit. This is a nice plot twist. So intimidating flyover. Dispel all buffs on all enemies. So AoE dispel.
Okay.
Recover 30% health and protection. Ally Empire ships gain 1 stack of formation to a max of 30 for each buff dispelled for 2 turns, which can't be copied. Formation is plus 10% max health, offense, and potency. Whenever the ship uses an ability, they gain 1% turn meter for each stack of formation.
Are you kidding?
That is what it is. Word for word.
So first of all, those easy to swat down TIE fighters, if you hit them that blow up, now just got beefier.
Correct.
They're getting bigger and beefier.
Correct.
The TIE fighter that already does more damage does a lot of damage is going to start hitting like a stupid truck.
Right.
And we're going to put a stacking mechanic on it that's going to give turn meter.
Correct.
Okay. All right. I'm on board. I'm into this.
And it doesn't say that they lose formation, at least not. I can't remember, to be honest, if it says later on in the kit, but right now, like, it doesn't say that it expires or anything like that. They just.
My guess would be it's probably a blue buff.
Yeah.
I bet this is a blue buff. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. They gain 1 stack of formation for each buff dispelled for 2 turns, so it lasts for 2 turns.
For 2 turns. Okay. So.
And this is a 3.
So we're not going to see.
This is a 3 turn cooldown.
Okay.
It's
So this is going to make Empire faster because they're already a pretty fast
right,
team, especially under Tarkin. It's going to make them a faster squad. Okay.
right. Okay. So second special is Predatory Instincts, which also is a 3-turn cooldown. Um, Target ally recovers 50% health and gains protection up of 50% for 2 turns. Then the Scythe uses GA60S laser cannon, so basic, against target enemy. This attack has plus 75% critical chance this turn if the target is debuffed. If this attack scores a critical hit, inflict fear on the target enemy for 1 turn, which can't be copied or dispelled, and can't be evaded by Jedi enemies. If this attack defeats the target enemy and the allied capital ship is Executrix, target ally gains Foresight for 2 turns and inflict all enemies with fear for 1. So AoE fear for 1 turn, which can't be copied, dispelled, or evaded.
And correct me if I'm wrong,
Okay.
but the only real sources of AE on the Empire fleet are the bomber and with the burning condition.
Right.
And there's one on the TIE Interceptor. TIE Interceptor's got a couple.
Yeah.
But they're not an AE heavy team. They're a single target team. So when I do this all the time. Hey, I just dropped AE fear on everyone, and then I ran an AE attack on top of it, and then immediately cleared all of it. So
right,
that fear of pulling fear. Okay.
Yeah, I do that all the time too, where I'm just like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done that. Yeah.
I appreciate CG putting fear on a team that I can't screw up. I guess is the way to look at it. So.
Okay, so his unique is two moves ahead. Allied Empire ships gain 20% max health and offense and 10 speed. If the enemy capital ship is a Jedi, Allied Empire ships gain an additional 70% max health. At the start of battle, all Empire allies gain a stack of formation. Imperial TIE Fighter allies instead gain stacks of formation equal to the number of ally Imperial TIE Fighters. These stacks can't be copied, dispelled, or prevented, and are removed at the end of battle or when Scythe is defeated. If the allied capital ship is Executrix, at the start of battle, summon 2 crewless Imperial TIE Fighters, and while an Imperial TIE Fighter has Foresight, they are also marked. The first time an allied Imperial TIE Fighter defeats a ship, all allies gain 100% turn meter.
Oh. So, all right, I'm going to do it. Hey, community, we heard you're really pissed off about this Dodge meta, so we built a Dodge meta ship.
Yeah. Well, so this is the thing. So you have Foresight and you're marked.
Yeah.
Right? So now I have to hit you, but I'm not going to hit you because you have Foresight. So now you lose marked. And now Buddy does his maneuver that gives an Imperial TIE Fighter that doesn't have Foresight.
Yeah.
Which then marks them.
And look, and I saw that all I saw was that they're going to bring the 2 TIE Fighters with the kit. And this is so ingenious on CG's part on how this is such a creative way to build out a wider ship roster without having to bring a ton of ships into the game to fix the problem. Like, this is such a great way of they have fleshed out and I think we're going to see something come for my expectation is we will get a TIE Defender in the Ahsoka show.
Right.
And the TIE Defender comes into the game from that side. So I think Thrawn will shake himself out. But this is just such a great idea of, we need more ships in the game. I'm not going to give you more ships. I'm just going to actually have two show up.
Right.
I just think that's such a phenomenal idea that they're doing from that side. But that's really cool though, that how they'll increase the stacks of formation based off of the number of TIE fighters that are in the game from that side. So that's super cool.
Right. So you could have, like, you could bring in your actual TIE fighter as well.
Yeah. Yep.
Just to, like, really start it off if you wanted to. Okay, so then it's reinforcement ability, if you choose to use it as a reinforcement. Inflict speed down, which can't be evaded or resisted on Jedi enemies for 2 turns. If the allied capital ship is Executrix, inflict fear on all enemies for 1 turn, which can't be copied, dispelled, or evaded. And summon 2 crewless Imperial TIE fighters. So it doesn't matter if you start or reinforce, you get 2 Imperial TIE fighters, assuming that it won't put you over the 5 ships on the map.
Yep.
If you have if you already have 3 and he's your 4th one, you'll just get the 1 summon.
But you've got to start with him in the lineup, right?
But, I mean, I feel like it makes sense because you're starting 5 versus 3.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
And so you go bomber, TIE, Scythe, and you put 60% chance. Ultimately, it's going to be 60% chance for them to target the wrong ship and start generating TM on the capital ship. Right. No, I'm sorry. Wait. In the TIE Fighter's kit, if it dodges an attack, it gives it TM to the capital ship. It's not tied to. That's not a Thrawn kit piece, right?
I honestly can't remember. Should we look this up?
I gotta look. Yeah, we should.
Let's go have a little look. Ships.
I think it's part of the TIE Fighter kit.
Yeah, it's the kit. Grant 25% turn meter to the allied capital ship whenever the ship evades an attack.
Yep.
This effect is doubled for Empire capital ships. So 50% turn meter to Executrix whenever the TIE fighter evades. Yeah.
So I think the big question is going to be, can you build a Tarkin fleet without needing Vader or the TIE Interceptor? Well, Vader, Palpatine, or the TIE Interceptor. Can you put those 3 with the Extinction Bomber under under Thrawn and run an effective fleet with that? Or are we really in a scenario that we now have this new awesome Rebel fleet at the expense of an old Rebel fleet? We've got a new awesome Empire fleet at the expense of the old Empire fleet, and we're going to see some stuff kind of fall in underneath those ships to kind of ultimately land at 4 fleets.
Right. I mean, I don't know why. I can't remember now that I'm reading the kit, why I had this thought, but I don't know if you want TIE Interceptor with this fleet. It feels weird.
I don't think you do.
It feels weird to be like, I mean, if you start the ship, you have 5 off the bat on the board, which means you're not calling a reinforcement on your first capital ship turn, theoretically, because you theoretically will still have 5, let's just say, 5 ships. So if that's the case, it really feels like she is there to get that ult off even faster by calling her right away. And if you don't get to, it kind of feels like a waste.
Yep. Yeah. And I don't think you can't start a fleet battle with 2 in the active slots and then reinforcements, correct?
I have never tried it.
I think if that happens, well, I wonder, so you would have to put your 3 actives, fill out your reinforcements, and then remove an active.
Yeah.
Is the only way that it works. But is there a scenario where you start with 2/4, and that still makes your slot available. And again, I mean, because that's how the Thrawn counter works with TIE Interceptor is TIE Fighter uses a special, counter on the TIE Fighter, misses the TIE Fighter, immediately get a turn to bring out Taxi. That probably works on the Tarkin fleet as well. But I don't think you need it. Like I think that's the big piece, is that I don't think you need the way the kits are built on this. And again, they're going to go fast and they're going to hit hard, is what it sounds like.
Right.
I don't think you'll need the not the Taxi, but the Interceptor to take out the Negotiator.
Well, and I mean, if the TIE fighters are oh my gosh, I'm blanking. If the TIE fighters have foresight and they're evading and they're feeding 50% turn meter to Tarkin, he's going to get to his ultimate really fast anyway. He's going to be taking turns all the time. Those TIE fighters are going to be marked. At least for the first 2 turns that they have them. 3 if you have your own TIE fighter there. Jared in chat is saying you can underman to start and then add reinforcements.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, it sounds really cool.
Yeah.
Like, even if you don't have Grand Inquisitor, it sounds really cool. Which is why, like, I'm always pushing people to just try and get the Conquest character so you don't have to farm it in Proving Grounds.
Yep.
Even if you're getting it in the 6 months, not the 3. Like, I think it's just so worthwhile to have on your roster.
Yep. Yeah. Look, again, phenomenal idea on how they're building out fleets with this. I think this opens a lot of doors, what to do with Thrawn and what to do with Akbar. Like that, I have more questions about those 2 ships, more so than kind of where. Look, we need to understand whether it's going to hit as hard as we think. And I know the guys on Gambit were talking about, do we need to take Fifth Brother up to higher level relics so that we can transfer all those stats in to make them hit hard? And look, I think we're going to end up taking them into higher level relics just because of Conquest, or pardon me, the territory battles.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is I think this is a pretty exciting piece. And look, we're 2 for 2 on really good ships in Conquest so far. Hopefully this kind of, again, keeps this trend of these being kind of really powerful ships from that side. But
well, and I mean, I had this thought on Crate when Xerath and I recorded it last week. It literally hit me while we were recording. It's quite funny actually to watch, but you can see like my brain kind of implode. They've been pushing Inquisitors. They've been, all but telling us to flat out to be like, go get Inquisitors, like do it. They've marketed this new territory battle as the Empire hunting down the last of the Jedi. I think this ship is going to be important for territory battles.
Oh, probably.
Like,
probably.
It would not surprise me at all if the enemy ship was Jedi, full of Jedi ships, even if they're just, skins or whatever. Yeah, so I think it's going to be huge if you're in a guild that's going to be doing that.
It's still a good ship, but this is another nail in the coffin of the Negotiator.
Right.
It's just, I mean, what's crazy is there's a really simple counter to this Empire fleet. Bring Negotiator on offense.
Right.
And now what does that ship do?
Well,
so.
And this is the thing. My Negotiator has been on defense for close to a year at this point. It's just parked there. I'm like, you live here now. I'm like, you can't live there soon. So, oh man, yeah. I don't know. I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be fantastic.
Yeah.
And we're earning it right now in Conquest.
We have to wait another 2.5 or 2 3/4 of a month before we can actually use it again. But we're not having to start put aside Zeta mats and gear and all of these other things for a physical character. So I'll take that trade off as well. So
That's the thing, and Omicrons, like there's no Omicrons here.
yeah, yeah,
Which is this when I heard that it was a ship as a rumor, and I was like, it's got to be true. It's got to be true. And I was like, please be true to save my gear stash. Like I cannot hoard gear for another Conquest tune. So this is huge.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm very ecstatic about this. So, yeah, so they do say just for a reference that when you're targeting the ships, the summoned TIE fighters will have just the Imperial logo on them, not the crew portrait. So you'll be able to differentiate them when you're targeting.
But I heard nothing in the kit that functions like the summoned Vulture droids that they disappear, correct? No, they did say they said that if the Scythe goes away, that the summoned TIE fighters go as well. I think that was the last line of the kit. Maybe I'm making that up.
Did they say that? I'm just scrolling down and I don't.
There's a line about the end of. Okay, maybe I'm just making that up. It's been a long day.
It has been a long day. Oh, it says that the stacks of formation that they get are removed when Scythe is defeated.
Okay.
So it doesn't say the ship is, it just says the stacks.
So it's not where like that's always the annoying part with the negotiator is picking the right vulture droid to destroy so that the other ones disappeared. No, you actually have to kill these things.
You have to keep track of which ones are the summons.
Yeah. And they're going to get foresight and they're going to generate turn meter and all that other garbage. And man, I want to use this now.
I know. I'm so excited that we get this in, I guess it'll be January, give or take. Yeah. So, okay. So we're getting this in Conquest. It will be it'll be mid-January when we get this, give or take a couple of days. When we can unlock it, because it's at the earliest, since it is a 7-star unlock. Do we want to talk about Conquest? Do you have anything else you want to say about the ship?
Yeah. No, I think it's super exciting, and I want my fleet of TIE fighters.
I know. This is I don't even have Grand Inquisitor, and I'm like, please have the event so I can get him and then use the ship, because it would be fantastic.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Conquest, because that's been different.
Yes. a welcome different, I think.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so I have noticed, so this is the third ship that they've released in Conquest, and every time, I believe you say this, Two is not a pattern, but 3 starts to be a pattern.
Three's a trend. Three's a trend. Yep. Yeah.
Every Conquest where the reward has been a ship, the feats seem easier.
So I can't remember that far back. What I would love to know is, did we have VAAA for the TIE Interceptor? Because
I can't remember. I feel like we did. I can't remember.
Okay. Because I want to point more of a finger at maybe the feats are a little bit easier because they wanted to swap up the data disks, and they wanted to make it a little bit more they wanted to make sure it was still obtainable. So
maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. That's a fair point. I don't remember what the exact feats were or the discs for those Conquests. I could probably go back and find it. because we talk about it all the time.
Too much detail.
It's
better to speculate.
It's a lot of work. But I do remember that everyone always comments during those conquests about how it feels easier this time. And I'm like, this is a trend.
So let me ask you the question.
Mm-hmm.
You know, an hour, 90 minutes into Conquest on Monday, when it was pretty clear that
AA was
AA doesn't exist.
I was so sad.
Did you panic? Did you have a moment of panic? Was there a oh no, how am I going to do this? Thought?
I don't know if I necessarily panicked for myself. It was more. First of all, I was like, of course they would take AA out, but leave Volatile Accelerator in. Like, of course, because you see that and you're like, okay, like Volatile Accelerator's here.
It's on.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think I necessarily panicked. It was more of a like, how can I figure out a good way to cheese things or make it weaker? Like, the 40 Inquisitor wins are going to be doable if you have the right discs set up.
Yep.
But Volatile Accelerator and Amplify Agony made it easy money. Like, you just went in and they melted themselves and then you were set. And now you're kind of like, okay, I actually have to do the work myself and find a node that it works on. So I don't think I necessarily panicked. I thought it was interesting. I'm noticing that things are still doable. Like, it's still, everyone was like, oh, Bam Han Chewy won't work. I'm like, I'm getting Bam Han and Chewy to work with Volatile Accelerator. Like, I know it worked more with Amplify Agony, but that's because Amplify Agony did so much of the damage for you. It's still working for me. I'm still taking a lot of turns. The key thing is, it's not really Bam Han Chewy that's doing the work. It's Dash now. It's because there was even a battle that I did where I was like, how can I make it was the winning with Princess Leia. I was like, how can I make this so that I can take Princess Leia, Farm Boy Luke, my Gear 9 Farm Boy Luke, and and Old Ben. So I had 3 characters and I was like, how can I do this? I want Dash, like, and I was like, oh, I guess I'll just take Dash lead and Han, like, and it worked.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So yeah, it's different. I think we all, like, hot take, and myself included, I think we all got really comfortable with having the VA and AA build. And just melting.
Yeah. Well, I'm actually happy that it's not. And look, I'm frustrated that it seems like things are taking significantly longer because they just don't die. Like, it's like I have to hit them more than once, but I also feel much better in Conquest in general, that I now have some new tool sets that I can use on those times when I haven't gotten Amplify Agony when I wanted it to. Like, it's understanding that I've got some other things that I can do in those cases. And frankly, when you've got this massive toolbox and all these tools, but everyone uses the same 2, it's time to take those 2 away and force people to look at everything else. And I think it makes sense. I also want to flat out say again, thank you for the Leia, Luke, Ben idea of putting them all in the same team. Like, as we're talking about, like, why it seems easier, the fact that those 2 global feats can be done at the same time, I think is having a massive impact on people's perception of the difficulty of this, because you're making so much more progress without, I mean, just think about it from the standpoint, like, I try to do 5 global feats a day for each one of those categories.
Yeah.
I'm saving 100 energy just by doing that.
Just by doubling
which allows me to just get farther and farther and farther into everything else. And I mean, that was huge. And you sent that to me and I'm like, yep, yeah, this is that's a phenomenal idea. So
There are, this is the one thing that I have noticed is there are so many this time that can be doubled up or tripled up or
yeah,
like whatever you want to call it. Like, so you can do those two globals. You can do the full Jedi wins and add General Kenobi to your team so that he gets the kills and work on that
yeah,
at the same time. And then you can take that and move it into Sector 3 and have your full Jedi team with General Kenobi and also work on Foresight and also work on Master's Training. Like it's all of
yeah,
these pieces that just seem to be working together really nicely, that makes it feel like it feels smoother. I will say, and people have pointed this out in chat, and I do agree. The downside of no Amplify Agony is the battles are taking longer,
yeah,
which
yeah.
is tedious.
I, it took me 30 minutes longer this morning because I like to do these first thing in the morning. So I was sitting in the hotel room. It took me 30 minutes longer to get through it. And it's those stupid Ray fights that take forever because it feels like you've got to get into alt twice. Honestly, the one that for me that I'm having the hardest time with is I can't get Kenobi kills.
I can't get.
I'm at like.
I think I'm in the 40s or 50s.
I'm at like 10.
Oh man. I'm putting General Kenobi on my Jedi Master Luke team every single time. And he is the one that gets called every single time for the kills. But I can't land a kill with my Jedi Master Kenobi because I'm taking Padme with him. And Padme is just one-shotting people.
Yeah, because she's a support.
Because she's support. Yeah. And every time I'm like, oh yeah, I can't take you. And then I'm like, well, I guess I'm going to take Padme here.
So what I'm going to do tomorrow, because I'll finish up the trio team, I'm going to take a Jedi General Kenobi, Old Ben, and 2 light hitting attacker Jedi Council Jedi. So like Lumi and Barriss, like
right.
2 that it can't be Barriss because she's a healer. But so I'm going to put the weakest hitting other Jedi there, and I'm just going to auto fights with that because I've got a 60% chance of those 3 actually getting the kill.
Right.
Or it might be like Jedi Yoda or something similar to that point. So, but I'm done with Sector 4 completely right now. Like that was and start talking about like doubling up. Because there's some of the defense heavy buffs, I started running an AdRad team without any attackers on it.
Right. Yeah.
And so you get no attackers and Jedi, and it's 14 of each. So you're doubling those up all the way through where, again, like it said Rebels, and I'm like, oh, I'm just going to go in with my CLS squad. And I'm like, oh, nope, if I bring this other one over to the other side. And so, yeah, all of these double dips are just kind of adding up super fast across this. So,
yeah. And that's the thing you can do. Again, I know somebody else was doing Mon Mothma for Rebels and no attackers.
Okay.
Which I was like that.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That makes sense.
Could have done it even faster that way. I mean, So look, the long pole in the tent will still be Inquisitors because I need so many of them in so many different stages. The Hutt Cartel in 5, I haven't seen where people think about that one yet. The Torture is just stupid.
Torture is so stupid. I know,
Skeltrix put a video out that I watched him, and I think he was getting like 3 a fight with Trip Zero. But I'm like, I'm not interested in managing that. Like that's I just don't want to deal with that. So I'm going to skip it for 5 points and just know that we're going to see it probably come back in force in a different in the next conquest.
It is. Like, I tried to make it work. I tried to add like C3PO, or not C3PO because that won't work, but like just trying to like I was like, I can't keep them alive. This is the problem. Like,
yeah.
And granted, it was early when I was trying. I didn't have all my discs set up, but it it's just painful to try to keep him alive. And I'm like, and I don't want to invest gear in you yet, which I think is where a lot of the players are, to be honest. And if you don't want to invest gear in a character, it's going to make that feat really hard to do. So that's one that it's easier to do Purge, which is worth the same amount, and you have to get 300 Purge, than it is to get 50 Torture.
And at least with Purge, you're getting the Inquisitor.
Yeah.
There's the Inquisitor Global as well. And so I looked at Trip Zero and BT's kits, and the way they generate translation is with murder.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's part of the problem, is that if you can't get BT to do any damage, then they don't start spreading the translation among them, which then again just leaves you at a 5-turn cooldown on Torture, and you just can't get through to that side. So you know, I really wonder if we're not going to see another Torture character coming up soon, and that's how they're going to start to maybe do some of this, is they're going to give us multiple options to do it. But who knows at this point. I'll gladly skip a 5-point feat.
Yeah.
And so.
And that's the thing. Like, a lot of these feats are still doable. It's still doable to get to Red Crate, even if you're skipping a lot of the Inquisitorious feats, which I think most people are. Like, I'm skipping the 40 wins. I'm like, oh, well, that's 40 battles I can go do elsewhere. Like, and if you can afford to skip that, then that's great. But I have been. I feel like I say this every single time Conquest comes around. Like, please just try and get to Gold Crate if you can. Because if you can get to Gold Crate 6 times, that means you get the Scythe unlocked before it even leaves the rewards. And if you can just do that consistently, you'll always have the reward character. It'll take 6 months or 6 conquests instead of 3. But you will never have to do it in Proving Grounds, which is that's the thing. Like, that farm for Proving Grounds is so long and tedious. I hate when people are like, oh, I have to do this Proving Grounds battle to get this character.
Yeah. And not to mention, you've got to take 6 months off farming that character while it finishes that first year cycle.
Yeah.
Because the back half of that, it's only available in crystal shops, and
exactly.
There's better use of crystals from that perspective. So
it's expensive. It's 600 crystals for 5.
Yeah,
like that.
Oof.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
So if you can, or at least try to get as many shards as possible if you can't get to gold, because that's really gonna help that farm later on. So yeah. I will say this Conquest, and this is going to sound, oh man, I hate that this is going to sound really entitled and like, not entitled. It's going to sound like I've been like really privileged this whole time. This is the first Conquest where I'm like, I'm not getting the discs that I want on my account. Professor X is getting them, like, no problem. And I'm like, can I have some of these, please? Like,
could I get a ZA and maybe a blindside and
right? I was like, I just got a Zealous Ambition today or last night. I don't know. The days bleed together. And I just found a blindside today. I'm like, I'm into Sector 4 at this point, and I'm just finding like the disc that I want. So I'm like, man, because those just make it so much easier. And this was the first Conquest, so that I'm actually like, I'm not getting these discs. This is a problem. And fortunately, like, and this is the thing that it really made me, I don't want to say I wasn't aware of this, because I think we all knew that you might not get the discs that you want, and to have like a second build as an option, like that kind of stuff. I'm fortunate enough that my roster can bludgeon its way through these feats. Even if I don't get the discs that I want, I'll still be able to get these done, even if I can't cheese them. Like, that will be fine. I was like, but it really was like, man, this highlights just how important these discs are for
Yeah.
smaller players who are like the discs are very important to make these teams work. So yeah, it's not a fun feeling being on that end, I will say.
Well, and as you talk about how many people use the VAAA build,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's important that people learn other data disk builds for when if and when they come back that it doesn't work that way, because you and I are both in a place, at least on your main account,
Mm-hmm.
that we can make progress with a hammer
Right.
and not using the data disks. But if you're, like Immortal Kane, I'm from Old Man's Cantina, where he's right at 4 million and he's breaking into this.
Yeah.
Without data disks, the number of teams that he has available are really, really small from that side, and that just slows his progress down. Now, again, we're gonna, all you smart Conquest folks are gonna figure out the right mix of kind of how to get setups to be aggressive. It's you know find more support characters, get a couple of ZAs. I do find it really funny that all of the no support feats
Mm-hmm.
this time around, which almost makes me think CG was like, well, if we're going to pull that out, this is the path that they're going to go. So we want to make them work for it in a couple of other places. But
Right.
yeah, having options is always good. So
Right. Um yeah, it feels like it's more of a survivability build in a way,
yeah,
but you also still want to hit hard. So like, which is what
yeah,
CA is going to do for your supports. And there's so many teams that you use regularly that have support characters in them,
yeah, yeah,
support or healers, I should say. So that is definitely something to remember, because I know I've been telling people, I'm like, Dash is a support, which a lot of people don't realize. Like, I didn't realize that for a while. Like,
yeah,
but your Padme team is gonna hit like trucks, like Padme, R2, Grandmaster Yoda, Shock, like all of these characters, which is even better this time around because we have all of these Jedi feats as well. But even Inquisitors, like some of the Inquisitors are support and healers. So even for those feats,
fifth brother
mm-hmm.
doing an AE attack and then seventh sister following up and just ripping the face off of something that's a ton of fun with Zealot's Ambition.
Yeah, I mean, and those are the two that I like to use in particular when I'm like trying to get purge or kills or whatever, because
Yeah.
Seventh Sister's going to assist and Fifth Brother's got an AoE, and I'm like, this is great because
Yeah.
this is what I want. I want you to hit everybody and I want you to assist. Like so you stack some Zealous Ambition.
Clean up. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, it's different, and I think it's taking a lot of retuning our brains kind of thing.
Yeah.
To adapt to not having Amplify Agony, but I think we'll be okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
And again, lower the difficulty when you're going to make us change how we need to figure things out, and then again ramp it up over time, and then drop it down and ramp it up and drop it down. So
right, exactly. So it's interesting. I will say the one thing that I do wish that they would do, and they used to do this when Doja was the community manager. I do wish that they would just put the disc list out, even if it's on the same day that Conquest starts. I think Doja would do it like 3 hours after Conquest went live. Like, it wasn't beforehand. We got it after the fact. But we still got it. There were mistakes in it, but like we still had a general idea of what was in game. It makes planning so much more easier when you're not having to guess.
It's different than the datacrons where there's a place to go see all of them when it gets live into the game. You can't even get it out of the game because the discs you see are different than the discs that I see. So you end up having to go to some place that someone is already consolidating all the information, or the data leaks and all of those other pieces that there is no single source of truth until at the end of Conquest, when everyone's kind of figured it out. It would be helpful to have them on the forums just from the standpoint of what's really there, what's not, and finding a single place for people to actually go find the information. So
yeah, that's the thing, right? You can't have it like on this server or on this one, and sometimes on the forums. It's just got to be in one set spot. So
sometimes Zareth makes an infographic, sometimes he doesn't. I can't always find them where I want them to be. So yeah, just you put it up over there. So
Right. Just have it all exist in one spot and call it good.
yeah.
Yeah. Do you have any other thoughts on Conquest?
No, it's been a good conquest so far. I break into Sector 5 tomorrow morning, so
Mm-hmm.
we'll see how that goes. And I can't believe I'm going to say this. I hope I don't get tired of farming datacron materials because I'm going to have longer to farm it because I think I'm going to finish conquest so fast.
Yeah. And like, yeah, that's the thing. You finish Conquest fast. Which sounds weird to say because the battles are taking longer, but the feats are
Yeah,
just being
yeah.
like you're able to do multiples at once that yeah, you're gonna finish faster and then I guess you just focus on datacrons.
But just autoing datacron fights on the treasure notes gets really tiring. And then, do I not do it with the last three? So again, I guess I'm fulfilling my own prophecy of give us enough time and we'll find a reason to complain about anything. So this isn't a complaint. I'm just kind of monitoring at this point.
Right. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I'm also curious, like when we're farming them, will it be annoying because the battles are taking long as well, or will we just be checked out at that point?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Checked out. It'll be checked out. I'll be petting the dog, drinking a cup of coffee, and hitting auto and just letting them run. Just it'll take me longer. So
Um, yeah, it's gonna be. I don't know. I'm actually kind of looking forward to that though, like being able to farm datacrons longer instead of worrying about feats is gonna be good.
yeah. Yep. Agreed.
So okay. Oh man, I guess that was like the big thing. Um,
Yeah.
and I guess it was also the negative because AA's gone.
Yeah. I really don't have a lot of negative this week.
I don't either. Like I
Um,
actually sat there and I was thinking about this when I was looking at the notes. I'm like, I don't know if I have anything negative to say.
I'll be honest, my most negative thought is I was disappointed we did not get an update today because we've had this
Yeah.
nice little cadence of every time we do a show, we get cool new stuff. Although we did have the Scythe to talk about, but I was secretly hoping for character number 4.
I know.
Not that I don't mind a push off on that side, but I want secret character number 4.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't either. I know. So I think we're gonna get a road ahead in the next couple of weeks. I
I hope
I
so.
think that's coming. Well, they did say we would get one in November. It makes sense to put it in November. I think we'll get it. We'll get it with the announcement of whichever the fourth character is. Um,
So let's play the speculation
oh
game
no,
here.
oh
So
boy.
let's get a calendar here.
Okay.
And first of all, so this is how you speculate. We're gonna start by finding out when American Thanksgiving is, because that's the only one let's be honest here, okay? So American Thanksgiving is November 27th, or what we call just Thanksgiving. All right, we
Thanksgiving.
don't have to clarify
Right.
ours. Yes, so Thanksgiving is November 24th, which why that's relevant
Mm-hmm.
is typically Thanksgiving week is also anniversary week.
Right.
All right. So we should see. So my guess would be we'll see something on the 22nd around kind of they'll drop that into the game.
Mm-hmm.
Um, which makes me think that we'll probably get a road ahead the week of the 16th,
Mm-hmm.
which would be 2 weeks from today. That's 2 weeks from now, correct?
Yep. Yep.
Yep. So in 2 weeks, we probably get the road ahead the week of the 16th. They drop the last character. They talk about Afra when she'll be available. They talk about anniversary rewards. And because you can't, after the Thanksgiving week, I mean, between vacation time and everything else, kind of everybody has it's December at that point.
Right.
So we're calling it the 16th is when we're going to get all these details.
I think that makes sense because we will be done Conquest.
Yep.
We'll be headed into. I guess we'll be on Dark Side TV that week.
Yep.
It, man, yeah. I don't think they're gonna do a road ahead the same week as the anniversary stuff. I think that will be separate, and then they're pretty much,
Yeah.
they usually go quiet for December. So yeah, I
Yeah.
could see that.
Yep.
I think we're gonna get it. I think it will have the fourth character for Afro, which I have no idea who to even think
Nope.
who it will be. I don't know if that means the event will go live then, or if they will tell us when it's live, or what the deal is. I am expecting. Okay, so let me clarify that. Actually, I'm expecting information about the Afro event. Whether or not it goes live then is what I'm unsure of. But I'm also expecting information about the new territory battles.
So I'm going to go out on a limb
Mm-hmm.
on the Afra side.
Okay.
Afra's going to come in the back half of December to give us something to do during kind of shutdown.
Right. Yeah.
But get the first 2 weeks of December will be a chase like event for the shards for the characters, which is what I think they did last year for. At least they did 2 years ago for BAM, where they put Quill and IG-88 or IG-11. They gave us kind of like a chase like run on them.
Right.
So I think we'll see something in game where there'll be a bonus drop for those characters. Then I think that we'll have her as kind of the chase through kind of the quiet period in December and all of the extra assault battles. I think is probably when we'll see all that shake out.
Yeah. I mean, and then you have the Grand Inquisitor event happening sometime in December as well.
Yep.
Which will keep people busy, and whether or not we get the new territory battle.
Yeah. Yep. I hope we get that in December. I'd love to have that in December, but
I think that would
I'm
be
not holding
great.
my breath.
I mean, it would suck to plan a new territory battle right before Christmas. Thanks, CG. Like, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah.
So that is something that I will be thinking about now, actually.
Well, I've already decided whoever I'm facing the last week of the next or the December GAC, because that last battle ends on Christmas Day, I believe.
Oh, come on. Really?
So
that's
they're
right.
going to get a free win because they dust on the 26th. I think everyone's talking about the 26th at the last date of this set. So, or set 4. I'm setting a week. If they want to attack, they're going to get the low. I'm start at the bottom of my roster and fill it. And unfortunately for them, those are 5 characters, but it's going to be Ugnaught and not Jabba, and they're going to get their win. So, yeah.
Yeah, but I totally forgot Christmas is on a Sunday this year. The only reason I know this is because I work weekends. Great. Yeah, Christmas is on a Sunday, so you're absolutely right. That's gonna be. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Throw a team in just to get the points.
Yep.
And then call it good. Yeah, no, thank you. Oh man. Okay. All right, so let's do I Love You, I Know. I feel like we don't have anything negative. We spent a lot of time saying that we don't have anything negative. Might have been a quasi I Love You, I Know. So we know it's easy to get jaded playing this game. It's been 7 years.
Yeah.
Almost 7 years. End of November, man. So, Pika, what have you enjoyed?
and I'll be honest, I don't remember what I put there, but this is actually I did have something that I was very happy about this week.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I contributed a team to the Conquest conversation, that ad rad team.
Yeah.
And I say that because I think that's a team a lot of people have access to because they're chasing the profundity right now. So it's a highly accessible team. You're probably going to tell me like, oh yeah, you clearly didn't watch my video because I talked about it, and so did like these 7 other content creators. But I found that one. I thought it was like the first time that it was not like, oh, I've got a team, and everyone's like, yeah, dude, you know that no one else has that team except for you because you're the dummy who put this resource on this character. So I was just excited once that I could contribute to something and it could help. Hopefully people saw it. That would be a nice part with it as well. But I was very excited about that the other morning. So it was fun.
It's a good idea. Like, so I haven't done that sector yet. I haven't done the videos for that sector yet. So
sure.
I might have to steal it from you. I'll give you credit though. But that's the
fair
thing.
Enough.
People are chasing profundity, so you're getting relics on these characters. And I mean, the really great thing is, and I know we're all about like being efficient and trying not to have to go and clean up nodes and everything in Conquest, but like the really great thing is you're working on 2 feats at once. So, and if like for me, my AdRad team would have a character on it that is either gear 12 or gear 11, just because of how I've got them geared. But like if they die, so what? As long as I get the win, I don't care.
Yeah. Put a couple of entrenched, a couple of zealous ambitions, and remember that AdRad is a support character.
Yeah.
And watch everything blow up.
Just AoE.
So it's awesome.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's just great. It's great.
That's going to be so fantastic. I can't wait to try that. I mean, this shouldn't.
It works on auto. It works on auto. That's.
Which is even better. Like.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. Like I always say. I mean, I'm also realizing this now that we don't have Amplify Agony and the battles are taking longer, because I switched between my account and Professor X, and I do them at the same time, right? So I sit down and I'll do. Usually I do his Conquest first because it requires more planning. But like usually I do that one first, and I do like all the dailies and stuff like that, and then I'll switch over to my account. I'm like, okay, do all the dailies again, and then go into it's just a set pattern so I don't forget things. And I am noticing, so beforehand I would comment about this. I'm like, it's really not that bad for me to run 2 conquests, like in terms of time. I'm like, I have looked at, because I only play on my phone, I've looked at my phone usage for the app. I'm like, during Conquest weeks, I'm in the game 3 hours a day, 4 hours tops. It's usually 3. And now I'm like, okay, I gotta go and do Conquest. And I always give Zareth a heads up that I'm logging in. Especially now with like the web store thing being active. I'm like, please don't kick me out while I'm doing this. And I'm like, I'm in Conquest for easily at least half an hour per account. So I'm like, that's 3 hours just in Conquest now for me.
Yeah.
A day. I'm like, man, I'm feeling it. Like,
oh, and by the way, Lightside Territory battle's going on. So, there's that whole piece of it as well. So
I was just gonna say, so Lightside Territory battle started, Conquest was starting. I completely spaced. I meant to do my Grand Arena on Sunday night and didn't. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to do Grand Arena. Lightside Territory battles is starting. Conquest is starting. I have 2 appointments that I actually have to go to today as well. So I was like, and it's Halloween. So I was like, I wanted to finish Conquest before the trick-or-treaters showed up, because I was gonna be the only one to hand out candy. And I'm like, oh my gosh, there's just too much to do within like a 5-hour window of the game. It felt awful on Monday. Which is, I feel like I got this backwards. We're in the positive segment. I am enjoying Conquest though.
It's just another puzzle, but the puzzle is time, trying to figure out how to slide everything together to make all the things that I'm excited to do in the game work. So
so it's definitely taking longer. I am noticing that now, which is fine. I'll be okay. Once this week
Yeah.
is over, once Territory Battles is done, it's so much easier. Having Conquest, the first week of Conquest during Territory Battles is really rough. So
Yeah.
yeah. But overall, I like it. I like that we don't have AA in, just because it makes us think some more, which is really good.
Yep. Yeah.
Okay. So I didn't see anything in our Discord question wise. However, there are a few in chat I thought I saw.
Yeah, we talked about this. I can't read that tonight.
I know.
So
I'm just
old
having
man eyes cannot see that far away.
I'm just having a quick glance. Okay, so Nicholas Murphy was asking how many refreshes from crystals do you do per day? How many refreshes from crystals do you guys? So right now, even with Conquest, I personally do 3 on regular energy, 3 on Cantina. I am doing only 1 on ships because of Conquest, because then I do 3 in Conquest. Sometimes 4 right now if I need to rush to the end of the sector, but usually it's 3. And then I try to do 2 in mods. I usually do 3 when Conquest isn't on. So I'm basically doing almost 3 per energy.
Okay. So I am now doing 2 Cantina refreshes a day.
Mm-hmm.
And then do 4 mod refreshes. So 3 for mats, 1 to just build some mod base.
Yeah.
I don't do regular energy. I don't do ship energy at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then I am still doing through all hundreds on Conquest, but I think if someone were to ask me what I should do, I would say Conquest would probably be 4 refreshes a day. So 50, 50, 50, and 100.
Yeah.
I think makes the most sense at that side, because most people probably need those crystals to do something else on the other side. So
yeah, that's the thing, is I find that once Conquest rolls around, it's harder to balance where my crystals are going.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I usually, so I should say, usually in the first series of a Conquest, when the feats are new and all that kind of stuff, when we've got a new character, I will dip into the 100 crystal refreshes just so that I can get stuff done or test things. And then the next 2, I usually don't, because at that point, like, I know it works. It's easier for me to be more efficient. But usually this first one, I'm either rushing through a sector, so I'm depleting my stamina and making really stupid choices. Or I'm testing different squads out to see if they work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to find out that, like, if I get into a situation that I run out of data cache, I'm probably not going to farm for data cache. Like, I just, that I ran into that 2 conquests ago, and it was tedious. It was not fun. Like, oh, I got 300 today and I needed 2 million. So I guess I'll come back in another 2 days. So
right.
I'll probably back out at that point. So,
right.
Yeah.
I will say what I usually tell people, and I realize this wasn't asked, but I'll say it anyway, because some people are like, I don't want to spend the crystal refreshes in Conquest. I'd rather spend them here, which is valid. Like, I get that. And it doesn't have anything to do with not wanting to chase Conquest. It has to do with, like, rationing their crystal income.
Yeah.
What I always recommend is you don't necessarily need to stop all of your crystal refreshes in those areas that you're focusing on, whether it's regular energy or Cantina or whatever, but you can go down 1. So if you're doing 3 Cantina and 3 regular, I would do 2 regular and 2 Cantina. That's 150 crystals. You can now do 3 Conquest refreshes for the day.
Yep.
And you're not eating into your crystal income because you're spending the same amount of crystals in a day. It is going to slow down the other things that you're farming on, but I honestly just find that Conquest is too important to ignore.
Yeah.
to be honest
Yep.
with you. Which I know people don't love to hear, but
But again, even if you can get to the gold box and stop,
right.
it's again, it's the the bottom floor should be the gold box.
Yeah.
Everything above that is bonus at that point. So, if you get there in 10 days and you don't want to spend any more crystals because you want to go back to because again, it's hard to justify chasing a level 9 datacron if I don't have the rest of the team to kind of put around it. So you just stop at that point. And now all of a sudden you've saved yourself, what is that? 150 times 4, so that's 600 crystals right there. Then maybe you increase those kind of coming back on the other side of it as well to play a little bit of catch up from that side. But it's a balancing act.
And it's significantly easier to get to gold crate than red. Like you need 100
Yep.
fewer points. I just want to double check in game. So the only other thing that I point out with Conquest, and this completely is up to you and what your roster is like and whether or not you need to do this. I personally, if I'm not going for red crate, I stop at 603 because that gets you all of the rewards on the track, which means you're getting that second Omicron.
Yep.
And if you buy the Conquest Pass, it means you get all of the extra bonus shards. You also get another Omicron on top of that.
Yeah.
So I like going to 603 if you can. It's so close to red crate though that if you can't do it, it's not the end of the world. It really depends on your roster. But like you said, gold crate should be the bottom, if you can. Okay, sorry. I just want to scroll back up to double check, but I don't think I saw something else. Do you want to speculate on what Afra will be? Support, healer, neutral, a combination? What do you... I think we were saying she should be neutral, right?
She'll be neutral. I think she will be a support character.
You think so?
She's got two attackers on the squad as it is. Because the droids will be 2 attackers. And I don't think she'll be a tank. And I don't see them building a 3 attacker squad.
Right.
And I think in lore, she's a little bit more of a support like character where she's, the word support really doesn't describe, I think, what the role that plays in the game very well, but she's kind of the straw that stirs the drink with a lot of these things. And I've kind of always seen that around kind of that's the role that supports play. So, but again, CG also likes to not always leverage lore as kind of what's driving a lot of those conversations. So who knows kind of where it's going to land. So
would she be a scoundrel?
Yes, absolutely. 100%.
So scoundrel, support, neutral.
I am more confident in her being a scoundrel than I am with her being neutral.
Okay, fair.
So
fair.
Yeah.
That is very, very fair. Okay. I think that was all I saw. There's a lot of talk about Afra and Conquest and just everything in general. Okay, cool. Do we want to look at the fleet meta report? I don't know if it would have changed actually. We had a profundity event.
Yep.
We did have a profundity event. You're right. I'm right. Both of us are right. Okay, so last time profundity had 25%. Executor was at 70. So let's see. Okay, so it's changed again. So this time Executor has 60% of. So that's a big jump.
Yeah.
And profundity's at 35%.
So anecdotally, I noticed 2 people in the top 10 of my fleet arena this week that I had never seen before, and which means they likely weren't in the top 50 last month because we're a very stagnant fleet piece. So
Oh, okay.
I'm getting the impression that profundity is much easier for people to obtain
Right.
and is that much and is easier to climb at low stars uh,
Yeah.
because of that. So I think it's probably why we're seeing some of those numbers that way.
Yeah. I mean, I was climbing with my profundity at 5-star, and I was beating Relic 9
Yep.
Executors. Um, yeah, so I 100% see that being a thing. Um,
I will tell you my concern is with the relative ease of people obtaining the profundity
mhm.
and what it's doing. I don't think we're going to get a year-long meta out of this ship.
No, I, my fleet chart is pretty quiet. Like, it's same idea,
Yeah,
and I'm getting pushed back. Normally, this is how quiet it is. Like, normally I can stay at least in the top 10. There are times where like I can climb to 2. I like to just climb to 2. I park there. And there are days in a row where I don't move. I just
yeah,
go in, I do a battle,
yeah.
I forfeit, like, and I just stay at 2. And I'm falling to like 16, 20. I'm like, okay, there are definitely
Yeah.
more people showing up now. Um, yeah.
I wonder if again, if Red 5 is ever a thing, it's going to be a legendary event. Will this be kind of the first meta shift that we've seen that's been based around a non-capital ship since the Falcon?
Mhm.
But I think all signs are pointing towards something before the year anniversary of the profundity, which would have been August. So I think late spring, early summer, I think is probably when we're going to see the shift.
I mean, I feel like it also would just make sense to bring out another fleet if we get another territory battle, but
Yep,
I
agreed.
feel like that just works nicely.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so that was big shift meta wise. Okay, so I guess the only other thing we have to go over is going to Uncle Owen's moisture farm to find out who and what we are currently farming. Pico.
So I'm kind of disappointed in this. I did get Hondo to Relic 5
Hmm.
because I had some crystals to spare and hit the shop early. I haven't used him. I don't know where to use him. I don't know what to do with
Oh.
him. So uh, I got to figure that out. But other than that, I'm collecting resources for the Afro run when it gets there. So that's where I am. So how about you?
So now that I have finished my Inquisitors, they're done. I am focusing completely on Lord Vader.
Okay.
I was toying with the idea of going back like between Lord Vader and Jabba, and I am significantly closer to Lord Vader than I am to
Got it.
Jabba. I was like, I think it just makes more sense. I and like while I gear all of those characters, I'm still farming. Like I'm farming Chrysanthemum right now. I'm farming Skiff Lando so that I can switch to Java immediately
Yeah.
afterwards. Boosh isn't even farmable yet, so that's not on the table for me, at least not right away. But significantly closer to Lord Vader, so I'll finally get him. I feel like he's been on my to-do list, and then something happens, and I'm like, no, you can wait.
Yeah.
And like he comes back up, like, no, you could still wait. So
Yeah.
it's finally gonna happen.
Yep.
Uh,
Good. Good.
yeah, it's. I don't want to.
Bad Batch is done, right?
No,
Okay.
no.
Okay.
They're done to the point that they're like usable. My Echo is gear
Okay.
12. They're usable.
Got it.
They're not done. So this is the thing though. I just need to vent about this for 1 second. So I activated the Lord Vader like journey guide event. And you know how like you have the journey guide that you can get through the main menu that shows you all of the
Yeah.
events. And then you have the journey guide tab in your character loadout
Yeah.
squad thing. So I went to that tab from my inventory because I was like, okay, like who needs relic levels? And Rex is on there. And I was like, okay. And I had just looked at or I had just skimmed through the list in the regular journey guide to see who had
Yeah.
check marks on them. And I was like, I know who's already done. And Rex wasn't one of them. So I'm going to give Rex relics. Let me tell you, I took my Rex to Relic 7 before I went, why isn't it popping up on my screen that you're done? There's no way you're a Relic 8 requirement. He is not a requirement whatsoever. And he's in the friggin' journey guide when you activate it.
Because I think he's in the event, but I don't think he was, yeah. Oh. Well, look at it.
I was so mad.
Rex will be really great for the last time that you run the event in Lightside Territory battles.
For the last time. Maybe I can beat the gas mission finally. Get that fourth wave, whatever it is, in phase 4.
Yeah.
I was like, I hit Relic 7 and I'm like, the thing didn't pop up. And I'm just like, what is going on? And then, yeah, he's not needed. So the fact that he shows up is horse crap CG. Absolute.
Yeah.
Insert a more colorful word here.
So you mentioned earlier that your Zam is still a gear 12.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a reason to just run her up there if you get one of those awesome bounty crunner crowns, because she needs to be our 5-ish for Lord Vader, right?
Yeah, she's on the list. So I was like, do I do my Bad Batch first? Do I do Zam first? Like, do I do Tarkin because he's on the list and now Executrix is gonna be a thing? Like, it's all good. It's all good. Yeah. So it is. Yeah. That was a rough realization. So PSA, if you haven't done Lord Vader.
Yeah. Just don't put it on to Rex. He doesn't need it. He's good.
I was like, well, I'm trying to think now, since we've gotten that interface of all of the Galactic Legends I've activated, or all of the journey guide stuff I've activated. It's only ever been things that you actually like check mark off. This is an outlier, I think. So, yeah, just not. Other than that, the farm seems to be going fine. I've taken a few.
It's going fine.
Yeah, I've taken a few other characters up and gotten them like check marked off because I have a bunch of them in relics already. It's just a matter of me pushing them up further. So
how long do you think it's going to take for you to get Vader?
I'm hoping I can do it in a month.
Okay.
To start the ticket grind. Which I have 74 saved from when I did C, because I took it to the max. I'm hoping. I've been noticing that I'm extremely more efficient now with my farms using the gear tracker. I just know exactly like what I'm going to need, what I'm going to want to look for, and I just buy it, and it's...
And what's got to be the exciting thing about that is you'll be at 6 Galactic Legends at that point. So you'll essentially have been caught up that now that because Jabba, I would imagine Jabba would be on the table at that point. So now it's just, especially with the Galactic Legend cadence now, you're not going to be in a situation that you're down 2 because they released 2 at the same time.
Right.
So that'll be really nice at that point. So
yeah, I think if I can, and then even for Jabba, like I am surprisingly, like there are a few characters that I already have in relics, and I'm like, okay, well we'll just bump you up a little bit more. So that'll be fine too. It's the farming of the new characters that's going to take me a while.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's fine. It's all fine. So yeah, that's basically what I'm working on. It's just a matter of which squads in the Lord Vader farm I want to work on first.
Yeah.
Other than 501st.
Awesome.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. Do you have anything else?
I don't.
Yeah.
I don't.
I was like, we're not going to have anything to talk about today because nothing happened. and here we are.
we clocked in at 2 hours. So
Yeah. So,
so
that,
I am going to add something. This is what stinks about doing this podcast, though. So
oh,
uh, for background for folks, I had to make a long car trip this week, and I'm working my way back, and I would normally be excited because I'm going to spend a couple of hours in the car and I can download the latest episode of the podcast and listen to it. And then I realized it's my voice and I have no interest in ever listening to that again. So like I lost this awesome car podcast because I live it. It's the whole Pee Wee Herman thing. Like I don't have to watch it. I lived it, but it's now I got to figure out what I'm going to listen to in the car tomorrow. So
yeah. Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is I feel terrible that people have to listen to me because I don't even want to listen to me. That's really what I'm trying to say. All
I
right.
never want to listen to me. I'm always like, that's what I sound like? Really? Oh.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's fine. It's all fine. Um actually, okay, so Lions then said to talk about what we're doing to celebrate Thanksgiving. I think we're gonna do like a Thanksgiving themed thing.
I think we're going to try and do that for the next episode in 2 weeks,
Yeah.
which means we are going to get a massive piece on that side. But I think we'll talk about that. And uh, again, Sarah's already celebrated Thanksgiving.
I
That
have.
that's again the weird thing from that side. So
I'll eat turkey again.
um, I will. I don't know if folks can see it, but this is going to be a big part of my Thanksgiving that weekend. So
Yeah.
uh,
Oh,
there's a game that weekend that's going to be pretty important. So
yeah. I'll be working that weekend.
exciting
As
stuff.
per usual. It's not a holiday here,
Yeah.
sadly.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. We'll have some interesting stuff to talk about next episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think we're actually done. I think that's it. I'm pretty sure. So,
Yep.
thank you guys for joining us either on the stream or listening in your car. Either or. But that ought to do it. And until next time, Chewy, we're home. Done. I was just waiting